It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 187.
They were both hugely influential in my life, and watching these guys who essentially started a fastener company almost out of the back of a truck, and the success that they brought to the organization. Of course, they were huge influencers in my life, but I believe just kind of over time during my journey, there were people that would just walk into my life. I'm not bashful about sharing my faith, and I believe that God just kind of brought people into my life as I was getting ready for them, and men and women just kind of slowly started showing up for me, and my development came with a number of people that help encourage me in leadership.
I think what we're going to be seeing and what some of the challenges of this year, I think every CEO in the country, to include fastener companies, everybody has gone down to their purchasing group and said, listen, we need to get some of these costs down again. I want to see prices go down, and we want to get that money back that we had to give up in order to try and maintain our production. But the problem is, as a supplier, right, every one of those customers came to us and said, listen, whatever you do what it takes not to shut us down. And so many of us built up inventory to protect our customers. Mm-hmm. And so there's a real dichotomy where now they're going to come and they want to hammer you on price. But the fact is, we have this expensive inventory that is sitting here that has to get burned off first.
With fasteners and with being in sales, you have to be able to talk with people. And that's the whole thing. You don't want to be short-winded with anyone. I look at this and I compare it to, let's say, what I'm good at, poker, right? Sales and poker, two very similar things.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the mighty FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, or import industrial threaded fasteners, or if you just enjoy hearing about the brave men and women who do, this is the podcast for you, and we're glad you clicked in. Coming to you from the wildlife capital of semi-rural Northeast Ohio, Eric Dudas here, and the co-host of Fully Threaded is with us as well. Just returning from his beloved Texas to the greater Chicagoland area, it's Brian Musker. Hey, Bri, you doing all right?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Thank you. And we had a good few days in Dallas.
Good flight back? Very
good flight back. Celebrated my flight as usual with a glass of wine on the plane. It's good, but it was sort of nothing like the wine that the MWFA served up for us a few weeks ago.
Yes, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. The MWFA held another one of its soirees, and you were there along with Lynn.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, and hope you're ready to get underway with this episode 187 of Fully Threaded Radio. We're publishing just a little bit late because of all our travels and miscellaneous adventures, but on or about April 18th, 2023. Tell you a guy who's doing the opposite of whining. The other kind of whining, Bri.
Right, yeah.
That's Billy Duren of Threaded Fasteners. He's the CEO of Threaded Fasteners, and he recently launched a podcast called The Nuts and Bolts of Leadership. I saw this on LinkedIn originally, and as soon as I did, I said, we've got to talk to Billy, get him on the line. Of course, Threaded Fasteners, longtime FCH members, but I had no idea the depth of the talent over there in the podcasting department. Well, Billy tells us all about it. It's a great feature segment today.
Oh, good.
And the bonus is that we hear all about Threaded Fasteners and what they're doing in the market. They're big down there in the Southeast, Bri.
So this is sort of how we add the predominant part to the subject matter of our podcast, okay? Predominantly fasteners.
That's how we smash the grapes around here.
Right.
We'll get things started today with our first feature segment, which is a conversation with John Coolhand Butler. Now, we haven't had him talk to us for a little while. Of course, he's a longtime friend of the podcast. Recently, He's been looking for new opportunities, and we gave him this one to announce a new thing he's got going. Sounds like things are going really well for John, and he also has a big surprise that's going to bring a surprise guest onto this segment as well.
Right.
I'm pretty sure the news of this is already broken by the time you hear this, folks, but we'll let John break the story during the conversation. On the Fastener News Report, Fastener Technology International editor Mike McNulty speaks with Marc Strandquist. That's right. After a hiatus from the FDI analyst's chair, it's the return of Marc Strandquist, this time as Executive Vice President with Martin Fastening Solutions. He and Mike will be covering the highlights of the most recent FDI report. Then Mike's got some solid information about the recent Fastener Fair Global, also informally known as the Stuttgart Show. And he has a report on reshoring. A lot of news in that area as well for him to cover on today's back page report. That's the Fastener News Report.
Oh, cool.
On the Fastener Training Minute, Carmen Vertullo takes a look at externally threaded parts and go gauge discrepancies. You tired of people whining because their go gauges don't agree with yours? Well, Carmen has the solution for you.
And you'll love it.
That's right. Say cheers to all those problems.
Yeah.
Plus, as if all that isn't enough for you, stick around to the end today and we'll announce the winner and the runner-up of the Beaver Combat Gloves Contest. Who's going to take home the IronClad gloves? And I tell you, it was a tough decision, but when you hear the winning entry, I think you'll agree the winner is definitely deserving. So it's another full show. We'll keep our prattle to a minimum, but I'll pass it to you at this point, Bri, for something that's definitely not prattle. Furthest thing from it, that's the list of our fine partners for this podcast.
Right. Long-time sponsors and friends. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Bright and Best International, Gerbil Fasteners, and Star Stainless Screw Company. Bright and Best International, tested, tried, and true. Gerbil Fasteners, quality the first time. Star Stainless Screw Company, right off the shelf for over 70 years. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Fair USA, InSequel Software, J-Land Franco, Parker Fasteners, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, Worth Industry North America, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Next time you think of fasteners, you should first of all think of them because they help bring this to you. And I was thinking very much of one of our sponsors, Marc Madeline at 3Q Inc., when I got off the plane in Chicago this afternoon. It was freezing cold, and I just happened to have Marc's hoodie in my bag, okay? We rely on our sponsors, and hopefully they get benefit from us.
And sometimes the swag they provide us, too.
Right. Much better than some fridge magnets, okay?
Ooh, you're not going to let me forget that ever, are you?
Right.
And, of course, later on in the podcast, when we get to the IronClad gloves, that point will be driven home even further. Well, let us know what you think of the podcast, everyone. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. We'd be glad to hear what you have to say, even though the Beaver Gloves contest is now closed. So if you're hearing this, too late. You missed it. We'll have other opportunities in the future, though. Don't worry.
Yeah. It doesn't mean the Beaver problem's closed. It just means the contest is.
Oh, no. Far from it. I'm not whining about it, but... that's still brewing in the background. Now, we've got Fastener Fair USA coming up next month in Nashville, and want to do a quick rundown of some important booth numbers to remember. Almost all, not all, but almost all of the previously mentioned partners of the podcast will be exhibiting, and I'm pretty sure they'll all be there, if they're not exhibiting, walking the show floor. So we'll start off. Bright and Best International will be in 711. Gobel will be in 704. Star and Solution, of course, under the Linfast umbrella these days. They've got a monster booth. That's number 403. Those guys are all front and center, everyone. I don't think you'll have any problem finding them. Well, actually, I don't think you'll have any problem finding any of us, especially when you get to our area. We're in 931 this year, and we're strategically located with Eurolink, SmartCert, JLand Franco, and InSequel all clustered in that same general area. So look forward to seeing you. Think about the swag opportunities, folks. You just never know what you're going to walk away with when you visit this part of the show.
Yeah, right. Because once you've looked at what we have, you'll immediately be able to go to one of the other booths, okay? It's probably got much better stuff.
It's going to be like Halloween for fastener nerds.
Right.
Now, Volt Industrial Plastics is going to be there as well. They're in 733. Buckeye, they've got a really nice looking booth too. The footprint on their setup, that's in 601. Pretty sure you'll be able to get a glass of Old Rusty there. So fastener swag is sometimes very toastable, case in point.
Right.
I talked to Jake Davis over at BTM Manufacturing. He will be on the floor. He's got some things up his sleeve. Same with Matt Boyd over at Parker Fasteners. I know those guys have big plans for the Vegas show, but they'll be in attendance walking the show floor. So the gang will all be there. And by the way, a lot of these people are also doing the Tough Mudder race, which actually is now the Rugged Nut, isn't it, for 23?
Right.
GQ just released a promo video of this thing. I know he's got it out on Twitter. It may be coming on LinkedIn, might be out already by the time you hear all this. But for those of you who are interested in the Rugged Nuts contest, that's happening in August in connection with the MWFA's Fastener Week. It'll be the Saturday ahead of Fastener Week. We'd love to have new members of the team, the fraternity actually, should I say, of mud racers in the fastener industry, and keep your eyes peeled for that video because it's quite exciting. Well done, Bob. One other note about Fastener Fair. I have been invited and have accepted an invitation to participate in the SmartCert panel discussion. It'll be right there on the show floor. There's no extra cost for this, folks. But that first morning of the show, we'll be talking about some of the important technology advancements that are being deployed across the industry and sometimes at the industry, it feels like.
Yeah.
And of course, SmartCert's right in the thick of all of it with their solution for managing all your certs. And they're rapidly becoming the industry de facto platform for that kind of thing. So hope to see you all out there. Fastener Fair in Nashville, May 15th, 16th, 17th. I think I got that right. A lot of good times ahead.
Yeah.
And just to take a quick look over our shoulder about a good time that you recently had, Bri. You and Lynn joined the MWFA. Tell me all about this wine tasting event. It sounds like a blast. I'm sorry I missed it.
Well, it was actually, and it was not only was it well organized, well executed, and it was apparently an idea that came from Matt DeLorda, and he and his friends had been touring in the Tuscany part of Italy, and they had gone to a number of vineyards and decided it would be really good if they could get some of those same wines for some of their friends back in Chicago. And it so happened that one of the vineyards they had gone to was one that Lynn and I went to about 7 or 8 years ago. It's called San Gimignano. And anyway, so we had it was a great bunch of people there who really enjoyed it, and the people who told us all about the wines were definite true blue Italians, and they just explained the different wines and the regions and the characteristics of the regions. And we had, I guess, about 7 or 8 different wines to taste. One white, the rest were reds. And it was a great evening, actually. It was really good. And they showed us how to pair the wines with a bit of their own olive oil and stuff. Very good. Well organized, great fun. I'm sure you could do the same thing for other drinks if you wanted to, but the wine was a good idea.
Sounds like a lot of fun. There were no complaints that you heard, no whining.
No whining, none at all.
The wine.
None.
Very good. Well, the MWFA, they're aficionados of threaded fastening and many of the other finer parts of life.
And tough mudder, too.
Many of them are, that's true. And connoisseurs of fine podcasting. Well, you know what? I'm going to just stop while I'm ahead, Bri. I don't think I'll.
Right. Yeah, I know.
But I hope you do stick around, folks. We sure do appreciate you clicking in. We'll take a break right here, come back with John Coohan Butler and a surprise guest and get this thing torqued down and ready for action. Thanks again. It's Fully Threaded
Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Talk Radio brothers in thread. Fully Threaded Radio.
Stainless Dan here, coming to you from Star Stainless. Star quality is more than products, just the way Wayne wanted it to be. It's simple. We're Star.
Goebel Fasteners increases efforts to maintain its reputation as the leading rivet source with a large inventory of parts and expedited delivery options. We have over $10 million worth of global inventory at stock at all times and pride ourselves on same-day or next-day shipping options that are available to all our customers. Goebel Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
At Bright & Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, U.S. Anchor, and IronClad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Bright & Best. To learn more about Bright & Best, visit brightandbest.com.
Hi, this is Deb with 3Q Inc., your source for a wide variety of U.S.-made parts from the heart of the fastener industry. You're listening to Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, getting ready for another odyssey into the threadosphere. So it's that time of the year when the new Link magazine comes out. Always an exciting time, huh, Bri?
Yes. Well, it's good reading. Lots of great articles in it.
Well, this time, cover is taken by Continental Aero, the striking purple. Make no mistake about that. But if you get past that and you flip over to page 32, gave us an idea about how to kick this one off. We decided to invite our old buddy Cool Hand along, and we're speaking of none other than our longtime friend John Butler, because he is, as well as being a fastener journeyman, also a published author. Cool Hand, you out there?
Published author. Well, it sounds good, doesn't it?
Sounds terrific. I wish I could say that.
More impressive is episode 187. Man, it has been a long time, boys, and I haven't been on for a while either.
Now, have you had an article in Link magazine before?
Never.
I didn't think so. So this is a new thing for you. Well, congratulations. It's a good feeling. I see they have your headshot right there in the byline. How did you pull this one off? Well, let me guess. It has something to do with the Fastener Experts Mentor Group.
Wow, how did you ever come up with that? This is true. This is true. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. As everybody knows, the way that you continue your career is to keep learning, you know? So I was contacted Carmen Vertullo. He had put it out there about fastener mentorship training.
Right.
And looking at furthering my career and always wanting to learn more, I contacted him and decided to take part in the mentorship. There's probably I think steadily about 15 of us.
So just reading here from the cut line on top of your article, it says the Fastener Experts Mentor Group consists of about 20 fastener professionals. I guess I got pared down a little bit, but in various stages of developing and sharing their fastener expertise with the fastener community. They have a virtual meeting twice a month under the direction of Carmen Vertullo, CFS. The discussion is unplanned, but always informative and technically challenging. Now, the unplanned part does not surprise me, knowing Carmen the way I do, but give us a little bit more information about how this program has been going, because Carmen announced it on the show and we were very excited by it, impressed by his idea, but it's a reality now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And you guys should be used to unplanned episodes. So, yeah.
What are you saying? Look, our episodes are completely scripted in advance, okay? Down to the last word. And then we get that and screw it up and throw it away and just do our normal one.
Thank you.
I don't think I got the memo, but it's always I love is that we sit here and we start talking before the recording, or we start talking after the recording, and you miss a lot of good stuff, gold stuff, shall we say? Anyway, but yeah, the mentorship program, it's really great for being able to open up your mind to different aspects of fastening. Nobody knows everything there is to know about fasteners. And it's a great place to learn more about whether it's structural bolting, riveting, threaded inserts. So we all learn from each other, and it is give and take. If someone has something they'd like to discuss, or someone emails over to Carmen a issue or something that has come up, then we discuss that. It's about an hour-long program.
So how would you characterize the skill level of the participants at this point? Does it run the gamut, or are you all experts already?
Well, I think we're all experts in certain fields of what we do in our industry, the fastener industry. These are highly qualified individuals that are partaking in the mentorship program with Carmen. Carmen approved each one of these people. If you were not someone that was highly skilled, shall we say, in our industry, then I don't think he would have allowed that particular person to partake.
Okay, so you guys are operating at a fairly high level. You're cross-pollinating, and you're basically like a fastener think tank.
Cross-pollinating. Your choice of words is awesome.
All part of the scripting, John.
Yes, I see. As I said, I didn't get the memo. Yeah, but it's really good. You get a cross-section of people throughout the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast, all different distributors, manufacturers, importers. So it really runs the gambit. It's great. Now, you look at someone in there like Mr. Yes, No, everybody's Fastener friend, at Fastener friend. Recent podcast contributor, Mike Robinson, he's in there as well. I enjoyed listening to his segment of the podcast last time.
Yeah, he's a great guest to have on. Super guy, too. And I'm glad he wound up over at Star now. Transitions are a big part of the fastener industry. You were formerly planted up there in the Silicon Valley area, but I noticed that we're connecting with you today from Florida. So
Right.
Things are in motion over there in the Cool Hand household, apparently.
This is true. Some of the other mentorship participants come from really good companies, and I have announced it here that I've made the decision to join Martin Supply and their Martin Fastening division. They're located in the Southeast, so I decided to move down towards my wife's family in Panama City, Florida. So I'm now back where I was when my father retired in 1972 and we moved to Orlando. Now I'm up in the Panhandle. So getting used to the humidity, the heat, and the no-see-ums. Brian,
and the great beaches, too.
Yes, the beaches are beautiful.
Well, congratulations on that. I mean, for you coming full circle was something that you actually wanted to do, so good for you. I'm glad that you wound up at a place like that. And another scoop here on Fully Threaded for many of you probably hadn't heard that quite yet. And another coincidence we had lined up there, too, because as I think I told you earlier, John, Marc Strandquist, who's also a Martin newcomer, will be appearing on the podcast a little bit later with the FDI conversation with Mike McNulty. That was completely unplanned.
It just worked out the way it's supposed to, right? I mean, I had I viewed Marc Strandquist's post that they were looking for regional business development managers or sales managers for this area. So I contacted him, and another person that had followed that Marc Strandquist actually brought along was Kevin Kozine. And he is the VP of sales for Martin Fastening. And Kevin travels the East Coast, and he is the vice president of sales, and he is my boss. Marc Strandquist had brought Kevin on board. So there's a lot of new faces within Martin Fastening, and I'm just very pleased to have joined the company.
Well, congratulations again on that one. And funny how these things work out. Well, it's a small industry when you really look at it sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, when you go to Vegas, you see everybody and you're happy to meet up with friends and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out here on the East Coast. I'd like to go ahead and partake in the Fastener Fair in Tennessee that's coming up. That'll be an exciting time.
That's going to be good. And you're probably going to get a lot of comments on this article, getting back to this link story that you have. Now, I didn't review this for technical accuracy. That's Brian's department. And you were talking about helicoils, and I know that's a field of expertise on yours. What'd you think of this story from the technical side, Brian? What was your impression of John's work?
Well, I only had one comment about the technical parts, which was the distinct requirement that you'd not confuse IPA as isopropyl alcohol from IPA beer. And I was going to say my memories of working in the weekends on my car with friends was that there was tons of IPA around always, okay? That's how you worked on cars.
That doesn't add to the installation, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, it did. It made the installation much better.
Well, especially when Eric calls it helicoil. A friend of mine, old Fastener friend of yours as well, Marty Meyer, when I worked at K&L Sales back in the day, he had taken a document and changed it from helicoil to helicoil, and there was a street sign that he had produced digitally that said helicoil, and it was icicle. So it was when hell freezes over, he'll use helicoil. And you look at it, and that's part of why I put this out here. I am an expert in helicoil, and helping everybody with their installation of the inserts themselves is what I wanted to put it out there for. Carmen Vertullo and Tracy had spoken, and he talked about putting out a mentorship article for each one of the periodicals, each spring, summer, fall, and winter. So I was the first one to take the bait, as Carmen says, and I decided to write this article, and there you have it. I will say that I'm not a author, but I enjoyed putting it out there. And Brian's right. The IPA canner may hinder your installation.
Well, it reads pretty well. I mean, did Leo send it back to you for a couple of revisions, or did you just take it the way you sent it?
Tracy told me that there was some edits that needed to be done, so they caught some of them, which I hadn't originally caught. So it was good, but it wasn't bad,
Yeah, I've got a history with Leo because the first couple of times I sent these stories in, I wrote these like short novels or novellas, Fastener novellas, and he says, no, they're not going to read that much, So I was furious. And I pared it down a little bit, sent it back to him. He says, they're still not going to read this much. And, at that point, I almost had a little bit of an author snit, but I took his advice. And in the end, I probably could have cut out more. And now I always take Leo's advice. He knows his business.
There you go. And the two of us, excluding Brian, we're not short on talking. We have a lot to say. Always good stories to talk about. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I got a little one in this issue as well, and this time I just busted it out. I don't know if it's like 800 words or something like that, but I learned my lesson. You want bite-sized in a lot of cases. Well, good job on that. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but when Carmen originally presented this idea about the mentor program and all that, he also ran an idea by us where the participants, the mentees, as he was calling you at the time, would also fill in for him on the Fastener Training Minute on the podcast. What do you think of that idea?
I love it. That'd be awesome. I would love to contribute as time permits. I am a regional business manager for Western Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, so I've got my hands full, that's for sure.
Well, knowing your fellow mentees as you do, you must have some idea about who would make a good Training Minute presenter.
Well, you've got Rosa Hearn. You've got Mike Robinson. There's plenty of other people as well that are not short on short-winded, shall we say. So I think it would be a fantastic for us to go ahead and participate with that. It'd be great.
Now, the short-winded isn't usually the problem. It's microphone freezing that's the problem.
Yeah, I hear that. Some people are a little bit shy, but, with fasteners and with being in sales, you have to be able to talk with people. And that's the whole thing. You don't want to be short-winded with anyone. I look at this and I compare it to, let's say, what I'm good at, poker, right? Sales and poker, two very similar things. And I look at this and the similarities. If you are someone that wants to be in sales, you have to represent yourself. You have to project what you want. When I was downsized from my previous employer, you could easily get down, but that's not me. That's not what I do. I have a great attitude. I want to project positivity. And when you do that, you're going to have confidence. And in poker, it's the mindset, right? So you're confident, you set up, you project that you're a winner. It's a winning attitude. And it's the same thing within sports. As you guys probably know, if you sit here and hang your head down, you're going to get it knocked off your shoulders, right?
So we get right into philosophy, which is also what we do well, okay?
Yeah, I hear that. So ride the ups and downs, when you have a customer that you didn't have a good day with, don't sit here and get down on yourself. You always have to be up. Get yourself in the right frame of attitude. Ask for the order. Remember back Tim Jackson, a few episodes back, more than a few, talked about it. Don't be afraid to ask for the order. Well, it's the same thing with what I do. You go out there and you talk with the customer, you project positivity, and you ask for the order. Well, it's just like asking for the big pot in poker. You project positivity, you bet high, and you should win if you got a good hand.
Well, that's all real good philosophy too, John. And that's why you have the moniker that you do, because you personify the idea that sometimes nothing is a real cool hand.
Love it.
Well, that's a ripoff right out of the movie, but let's face it, that's where we took that. So
that's true.
Good for you, John. That's real good. And you're a gentleman on top of all that, and you're always giving back to the industry and to your fellow professionals. And you've got something else that you've been holding tight to the vest, to use more poker table parlance. And I was a little surprised by this one, but here we have approval also to spill a few beans. What's going on, John? You've been a busy boy lately, finding a new job, doing this mentorship, authorship, and what else is going on in the world of John Butler?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. When you are transitioning, looking for a great company to work for, you have time on your hands. And so I was downsized about a month and a half ago. So besides winning a poker tournament with 78 people, which netted me a very nice take home of $4,000 before I left San Jose, that was fantastic. But you read a lot of articles and you see what's going on in industry. So I saw that the NFDA was looking for suggestions for the Fastener Expert of the Year. And
nominations.
Yeah, the nominations for the Fastener Expert of the Year. So I wrote an article. I contacted a friend of mine, someone I thought would be fantastic recipient of this award. And I talked to him, not knowing what I was doing, but found out a little bit more about his generosity, his experience. So I sent in to NFDA a page about Carmen Vertullo. And Mike, Mr. Yes No, Mr. Faster Friend, called me up about a week ago. This is the beginning of April, and told me that they voted and chose Carmen Vertullo to be the Fastener Professional of the Year.
That is so great.
Oh, wow. I love that.
That is so great, John.
I tell you.
What a thing to do. What a great choice by the NFDA.
That's what I thought. And you think about everybody in their industry, and there's so many that are deserve it of this honor. But in my mind, it was Carmen Vertullo.
Well, I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's like that with all these types of awards. You find it very difficult to bring it down to just one selection, but in the end, very deserving. Now, this is a fairly new award in the industry. It's been around several years. The list of winners in the past are very substantial, and Carmen fits right in with them. Now, I got something else that's sort of a coincidence for you, John.
You want to play me in poker?
I would never try that.
No, I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole.
Unless we're playing with Monopoly money.
Yeah.
But hanging out in the green room, he's getting ready to do the Fastener Training Minute a little bit later. I knew that this was coming down the pike, and I figured I'd give you a little shocker. So we've got one of these, this is your life minutes, sort of. Hey, Carmen, you out there?
This room is not green.
But it would have been.
It would.
Mr. Fastener Professional of the Year. Congratulations, amigo.
I'm feeling pretty green over that, I have to tell you. Not money green, though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm speechless for a minute here. It'll come back, though.
Right. But very well deserved, okay?
I appreciate listening to all that, and I have to disagree with one thing that Eric said. So let me just briefly tell you that, if I can I take a minute to tell you how John told me about this?
Go ahead. Yeah, we want to know every detail.
So I get a call. I get a call from John, and he says, "Carmen, I have some bad news." And I'm wondering, what is it? I can't imagine what John could have to say to me that's bad. But he said, well, a while back, I sent in a nomination to NFDA and nominated you for this award. And I'm thinking he thinks it's bad news because, like, I'll be humiliated if I don't get it or something like that. I don't know why it's bad news. But I said, don't worry about it, John. It's okay. I'll be the token nominee. I've done this kind of stuff before. It's okay. And he said, that's not the bad news. I said, what's the bad news? He said, you won. And I thought he must be just saying I won the they accepted me as a nominee is what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm accepted as a nominee. And we went back and forth a couple times because I didn't get it at first. He kept having to say, no, you are the guy. You got it. And I'm still thinking, well, John's a smart guy, but it's conceivable he misread the criteria for that award, and it's a mistake, And
the mistake there is when you said that I'm a smart guy, but go ahead.
No, that's not a mistake at all. And anyway, so I hang up, and literally a minute later, I get an email from Amy at NFDA telling me about it. And I thought, oh, my goodness, it's true. How did this happen? And I wasn't very familiar with the award. So I looked it up, and I saw, you're right, Eric, it's been around for, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years, something like that. And I looked at the list of the people that have had this award given to them. And then I was sure they messed up. I better call her up and straighten this out somehow. Because, I'm probably, a little bit better known than a lot of people in the industry because of all the training I've done and the getting around, but I don't belong in the same room, same building with those guys. They're all incredibly accomplished business and professional fastener people, well beyond anything I could ever hope to do. And I thought this can't be correct.
Well, clearly the committee that awards this thought differently, and it takes into account a lot of aspects of someone's career. You have a lot of very positive contributions you've made, and we're just going to stop that part of it right there. You're very modest, and that's another one of your fine points. Congratulations, Carmen.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm so looking forward to going to Chicago. My daughter lives there. Amy graciously offered her a seat at the breakfast when this award is given.
Right. So the NFDA Executive Conference happens in June, I believe, in Chicago, and that's where the formal presentation will be made. I'll be out there for sure. Carm's cheering you on, and this is just great. John, you did well. Good man.
Well, sometimes I come up with a good idea.
Or to use New Zealand slang, you done good. Okay, that would be Australian.
Done good, boy.
You done good.
That's it.
So, Carmen, how's John doing in the mentorship group? And be honest, now all the pressure's off.
Man, I'll tell you a couple of things about the mentorship group that are really important to it. And that is, it's not training. What it is encouraging people who are experts to use their expertise and to grow it. And essentially for me, I'm an old guy and I'm not going to be in this industry that much longer. I'll be in it as long as I can. As long as God lets me, I will always participate at some level. But I have hundreds of cases that I've worked on, maybe more than, I don't know, anybody I could think of that's alive today. That's my thinking. I could be wrong. And they're compelling, and they're things people need to know about what can go wrong and how to keep stuff from going wrong. And I'm thinking, I got to write a book. I got to do something with this information. How am I going to pass it on? And so this was the method that I thought of to pass on this information. Now, what we talk about isn't only my cases. We talk about what's going on now, dig stuff up from the past, and we talk about what's going on with the mentees. Now, there are about 20. They don't all show up all the time, but I'm always encouraged by how many do show up. It's always at least 15. And we record it. So it's recorded into the cloud, and I send a link out to the group to have the recording, and the ones that can't make it, they can listen to the recording if they want to.
Well, that was one of the prerequisites, wasn't it? You told me that unless people were seriously committed to showing up, you didn't want them.
Yeah, that was one, as well as I scared a few people off because there are other ways to grow your knowledge, excellent ways, Fastener Training Institute, Fastener Training Minute. There are lots of the IFI's training programs. There's all kinds of trainings out there, but this is for people who want to be known as an expert, either in your organization. You don't have to be out in the world, in your organization or in your product group or your market. You want to be the go-to person in that segment. And to do that, you have to do things like publish, I think. And you have to do things like present and be able to get on the screen in the Zoom meeting and be the one laying down the information. And that's what this is all about, encouraging people to develop those skills of being able to take your passion and your knowledge and put them together and have an effect on the industry with it. And John is a perfect example of that. So he is one of the people who came to the group already an expert, and he's helped me in a couple of different cases. And his expertise is probably more than I know, but I know he's an expert about threaded inserts of all kinds. And
especially helicoil.
And those helicoils can be hell if you don't know how to pronounce it properly. But
keep it up.
But he's right. I did say, okay, we got somebody to take the bait, but we also have another article in the wings coming out, and I won't tell you who that is yet, but we'll make sure it's going to go. I think it's going to go. And
this is going to be a regular thing now, isn't it? Now that they're in the chute.
It is. And Tracy even said it doesn't have to be just one per issue. Now, John's article was pretty long. We were shooting for a page or two. And so when I first sent that to Tracy, I said, this is kind of long. I bet we could chop it up into 2 or 3 or 4 if we have to. And she said, let me see what Leo said. And Leo loved it. But I also said, hey, this is all about helicoils. And it's free advertising for helicoil is what it is, and I'm thinking they could afford to pay for this. What the hell, I'm thinking. But Link was totally okay with it. It was like, nope, John wrote it. We're going to take it. And it was well written, well illustrated as well.
Go on.
And people will come,
he loves it.
People will come away with it with very good knowledge about the product, which I think is fantastic. And so, there's knockoffs of the helicoil product, and they all work pretty much the same. So you could I said, we could genericize this article if you want. Actually, John offered to do that. And they said, no, we'll take it the way it is.
Well, in the fastener business media, it's our bread and butter. I mean, you don't really worry about those things too much. You just do the best you can, and you promote people. You don't always get compensated, but you talk about products that work, products that you know about, and this is a case in point. So it's a good job. You achieved a lot of missions here, guys. Good for you. Well, hey, I want to just say one little story here when we're talking about editorial privilege and so forth, and Leo cutting things down. Now, you did recently Carm, people don't know this, a lengthy Fastener Training Minute. It went about 18 and a half minutes, I believe.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah.
Well, no, come on. It's just, you just started extemporaneously rambling on about the topic, and it was great. But then at the end you said, well, how was it? And I said, well, it's great if it was the Fastener Training Minute hour. So he said, well, I said, I could send it to you. You can use it however you want, or you could just do it again, but do it slightly shorter. And you did the exact same topic right off the cuff, but you whittle it down to 4.5 minutes of just solid, packed information. And it was just amazing. I mean, you're a pro. You just know your stuff inside out. So that was another case where editors work with pros, and the end result is actually pretty good sometimes.
To be fair, I said when it was done, was that 16 freaking minutes? Holy crap, that's not going to work. Let's do it again.
I tell you, time does go by. In our mentorship class, by the way, Carmen, could you go ahead and note the other people that are attending the class? Because I didn't do them justice. Would you be able to do that?
Is that okay to do that?
It's your class.
Oh, yeah, it's your class.
So.
Okay, I'm going to do the best I can from memory. Give me a minute here. So I had a relationship with most of the people that are in the class. Some of them I didn't. Some I had business relationships with. Some they were my students in classes, and they knew about me from that. And so a few I didn't even know at all, or probably had not ever talked to before that. So I'm going to do the best I can here. Okay. We have, and these are some, you might not know some of these people, but some of them are substantially brilliant people in their own right. And I just want to say this for sure. And this was not any surprise to me that it went this way, because this was my plan from the beginning, is I am learning something every time we have this from somebody on this channel. They bring it. And so they learn from each other. Hopefully they learn from me, but I'm really learning a lot of good stuff from them. So here we go. There's Brad Porter at Birmingham. There's George Munoz at Ababa Bolt, which, by the way, is where I got my start in fastener sales, whatever you want to call it, the industry. Tony Reed at Linfast, Alex Satnick at Dottie, HL Dottie, a great company. Mike Iandoli at M&M. Pamela Thornton at Best Built Fasteners. She started her own company. And I do not know how this lady gets the work she gets. I want to shake that tree and say, how did you get that job, Pamela? She's pretty amazing. Darlene at Solution Industries, amazingly smart lady. She serves on the ASTM B08 committee and F16 committee with me. She actually is the one that's going to have the next article in Link magazine. Jamie Clark at Hodel Natco, excellent guy, man. That guy gets some amazing problems. Chris at Field Fastener is a known technology company in the industry. Oh my goodness. Bill Denby at Valley Forge, my goodness, what an amazing guy he is. Rosa Hearn at Brighton Best, she just logged on last time. I hope she'll come back, because she really straightened our asses out on a few things that were needed to be straightened out. She was very good.
Well, she specializes in that.
Danielle Pulaski at BBI. Taylor White. I don't know where Taylor works. Do you know, John, off the top of your head?
No, I don't know.
Trey Clark. Let's see. I'm just reading off emails here, so they're not always all that clear. Eric Schott. Mike Robinson at Star. Miguel Serrano at BBI, Sean Collis at a lab that they just started called Metallurgent, which is with solutions and the whole Linfast thing. Grant Beal at Abbott Interfast, Dan Heck at CDE, Chris McCaffrey. He hasn't been on yet, but wherever he's at these days, I can't remember. Birmingham. Okay.
Yep.
Laura Lamanna at Brainerd Rivet. Laura and I have been working together for years. She's an amazing manufacturing engineer. She's got great work there. John Butler, of course, at martin.com, I guess. I don't know what his email is.
Do people call him Cool Hand on your meetings?
You know what? That's the first time I've heard that, and I love it. It is so appropriate. It's perfect for him.
Come on, Carm, you got to start listening to the podcast.
Right.
I know.
That name's been around for a fair while.
I revealed my ignorance there. Doug Whelan, who's a longtime guy at Stelfast, and he's helped me out and has continued to help me out.
Wait, are you covering winemaking too?
That's right. Oh, man, we will talk about that. By the way, we will talk about whatever comes up. It doesn't just have to be fasteners, but it's mostly fasteners. And we got Marc Thomas Cordova at Centennial Bolt, who's absolutely an amazing young man. I don't know if you got to see him. He sat on a panel discussion we had at a Pac West dinner meeting several times ago, and he was amazing. It's like he was transparent. It was about what motivates workers, and that he, as I don't know what generation he is, but he's before millennials or after millennials, whatever.
Young fastener professional.
Young fastener professional age. And he's just an amazingly smart young guy navigating his way through his dad's business. So, and that's all I can see. I think there's a few I'm not thinking of, and I apologize.
Well, yeah, as I said before, like 12 people. Yeah, a couple more than 12.
So we will continue this, by the way. This is the class of 2003, which started in September of 2002. And we'll probably take a little bit of time off in the summer, and we'll start the class of 2004. And all of these people can remain. It turns out I thought 12 would be the number we would use as a good number. It's a good number of people to be discipling, if you will. And it turns out that because of the way Zoom is, there's not a limit, really. It could be 12, it could be 20, it could be 50.
Well, that is an impressive list. It's an impressive program, and this is just great. So if Leo was here right now, he'd probably be telling us to sort of start thinking about trimming this segment down a little bit. But I'm going to look at it this way. We're kind of double dipping this time. We had the John Coolhand Butler new gig and article sequence, and then we moved into the Fastener Pro of the Year, who's Carmen Vertullo. This is just great. Good work, guys.
It is, yes.
Indeed. It was a pleasure. Always great to talk with you guys, get on the podcast and share some information. But congratulations to Carmen Vertullo. He is the man.
He is, yeah.
Well, we'll be talking to you a little bit later in the podcast. And John, we'll see you soon, hopefully in Nashville.
Yeah.
Thanks again, gentlemen.
Right on, boys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, John. Thanks, Brian.
This is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and for over 50 years, we have been a leading manufacturer of bent wire and threaded products, including U-bolts, single and double-end studs, anchor bolts, and many more per-print items. Based in the heart of America, Kansas City, Missouri, BTM supports Fully Threaded Radio because they support our fastener industry. Being a part of FTR is almost as good as a hot cup of industry favorite U-bolt blend coffee. And if you still don't know how good that is, call BTM Manufacturing today and find out for yourself. BTM Manufacturing, commitment to service.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. BuckeyeFasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
No quoted again. This war on no quotes must end. Diana!
I sense an injustice. Here's what we do. Eurolink specializes in hard-to-find metric fasteners manufactured to ISO and DIN standards.
Eurolink. Why didn't I think of them before?
That's Ares, corrupting humanity by fragmenting memories. Let's summon a quote together. Contact sales at EurolinkFSS.com.
Diana, you are a wonder.
We both are.
This is Rosa, the preferred riveter at Brighton Bass International. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio with Eric and Brian.
And it's the news segment, which is a favorite of a lot of people. Mike McNulty will be here momentarily This time joined by Marc Strandquist of Martin Fastening Solutions to talk about the FDI. It's a happy time of the podcast, Bri.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like to think of it that way too.
Brought to us, as it has been for quite some time, by Volt Industrial Plastics. By the way, the latest Fastener Technology International just came out. It's got the preview of Fastener Fair USA in there. Just want to remind everybody that if you're not already receiving the monthly Fastener News Report, it comes in a very convenient, concise PDF format. Get out to fastenertech.com and click the News Report link at the top. On that page, you'll see a blue button. Just pop your email address in there, free of charge. Mike will shoot out that news report to you every month. Very, very good digest of relevant headlines and so forth. And we've got just a couple of news items to bring at you before we pass it over to him. We'll get to a slightly more serious subject, Bri, after all that heavy-duty talk with John and Carmen.
Oh, why would we do that?
Well, okay, maybe we won't. We'll tell you about what happened at the recent Mel Kirshner Memorial Golf Outing. The Pac West had that. This comes to us by way of LinkedIn and the Fastener News Desk team. They put a report right out there with all of the information that I'm about to read. The winners of this year's event, the Mel Kirshner, which, by the way, was held on March 10th at the Westbridge Golf Club in La Habra, California. Those winners were the foursome of Andrew Clayton of Parker Fasteners, Hans Fuller of Fuller Metric, and Alfonso Ramirez and Nate Spain of Southwest Fastener. Congratulations on first place honors, gentlemen. Well done. The second place team this time around went to Industrial Threaded Products. Clay Weaver, Garrett Futrell, Dustin Card, and Masaya Yamazaki. And third place, now this one was the real head scratcher, Bri, because we were really hoping for a win. Rob Big Country Reynolds of InSequel and Brian Wheeler teamed up again. Brian, a star, of course. They were playing with Jack Seiler of SGS Supply and Edgar Huerta of Pacific Warehouse Sales. They played valiantly, took home third. The interesting thing, if you saw this report on LinkedIn, the way they've got the photos lined up, if you didn't actually read the story, you'd think that Big Country and team pulled off number one because there's a photo of them at the top holding the winner's cup. I don't know how that exactly happened, but good job, everybody. And I know you had a lot of fun. I mean, the smiles out here are pretty apparent.
Yeah, they are out there in the wine country part. It goes pretty much with the whining.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, Bri. Are you thinking that's what these big smiles were for or about?
No, they might be smiling in anticipation. Probably not after having already imbibed.
Yeah, they do everything slightly differently out there at the Pac West, the grooviest of all the Fastener associations. So that's the Mel Kirshner Memorial. And in other golf news, the MWFA Screwed Up Open is happening May 25th. That's happening at White Pines Golf Club. Get out to mwfa.net. I don't know if it's going to be as much fun as the Pac West event, Bri, but I'm sure they'll have plenty of other kinds of beverages.
I'm sure, yeah.
The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, Global Fasteners, and Star Stainless. One more thing I wanted to throw out. Got an email here from Harry Mosier of the Reshoring Initiative. Now, Mike McNulty will be covering reshoring a little bit more in depth during his back page report today. Just wanted to point out on this email I received, Harry's mentioning that the report for 2022 and reshoring the way that they measure it over there at the Reshoring Initiative was up 53% over 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. So they take a proprietary look where they consider the number of jobs and then what they call foreign direct investment. That's their version of the FDI. And they scramble that around and come up with a metric that they use to do comparison. So up 53%.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, actually. I'm sure Harry's smiling from ear to ear with that one.
Well, things are moving in the right direction from his perspective on that front. That's for sure. Again, Mike will have more. I don't think we should dilly-dally around anymore, Bri.
Okay. So now, for news about screws that you can use, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Major League Baseball is back in magnificent, iconic stadiums all over our great USA. Flowers are in full bloom. Trees have dropped their dead branches. I started my gasoline-powered lawnmower for the first time in 2023 on the 10th pole, and Bud Light intentionally and inexplicably damaged its 4-decade-old brand of beer, but I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Marc Strandquist, Executive Vice President Fastening Solutions at Martin, joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on the record-breaking Fastener Fair Global, as well as newsmaker headlines from Birmingham Fastener, Prairie Rivet, Shannon Precision Fastener, Auto Bolt, Empire Bolt and Screw, Ramco Specialties, Brighton Best International, and more. On the back page report, we're going to talk about local manufacturing. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
When price is a big concern and you don't have high tensile strength requirements to worry about, ever think to yourself, why not plastic? Hey everyone, it's Heidi from Volt Industrial Plastics. Next time you need to find a solution that requires keeping costs as low as possible, give Volt a call and put our team of skilled customer service representatives to work for you. Plastic fasteners can make sense on a wide range of applications that you might not have considered before and provide your customers with big savings. So the next time you have trouble with price and delivery, just think, why not plastic? From everyone here at Volt Industrial Plastics, thanks for another great year. And you know the website, it's voltplastics.com.
Are you in the fastener industry and looking for the latest technologies and products? Then you need to be at Fastener Fair USA. This premier event takes place May 16th and 17th at Music City Center in vibrant Nashville, Tennessee. Meet with leading manufacturers and suppliers, learn about new innovations and trends, and network with industry experts at our opening night party at the Country Music Hall of Fame. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your business to the next level. Register now at FastenerFairUSA.com.
It's going to be amazing.
See you in May.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are Solution.
Back to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for March 2023 was 48.6, a noticeable drop from the previous month's result of 51.6 and the third sub-50 result in the last 4 months. The forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, improved slightly to 44.3 versus 43.8 in February. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Marc Strandquist, Executive Vice President, Fastening Solutions at Martin Incorporated. Hi, Marc. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Good morning.
It's good to have you back on. Last time you were here was in 2021, but you're a regular contributor to the Fastener News Report and the FDI, as well as to Fully Threaded Radio in general, going all the way back to 2011. So welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to it.
So what do you think about the latest FDI results?
Not a big surprise. I think, this year we've seen a lot of turmoil, and as people are dealing with excess inventories. And as noted within the report, some of this might be just a stabilization of the supply chain as people taper back a little bit. But as I talk to suppliers and a variety of manufacturers, they're all seeing, as a general rule, a little bit of a slowdown compared to what it was as people burn off their inventories. I'm not sure yet if it's really a lack of demand, as it just is people getting in control of the situation, which, as you well know, during the supply chain crisis when it was at its peak, was pretty uncontrollable, and it was very difficult to find parts. And now I think things have settled out a little bit, and then we're seeing costs starting to drop. And I think that's a reflection of the capacity getting straightened out, and as people are, as I said, have been burning out some inventory.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the supply chain was kind of uncontrollable, making me think about a couple different metaphors, like trying to grab a loose fire hose or trying to drink from a fire hose, maybe. But so things are starting to stabilize a little bit, I think. And let's jump into some of the numbers. We had in the numbers in the report, we had sales, employment, deliveries, and pricing all dipped slightly. The raw numbers were sales dropped below 50 to 49.5, employment dropped to 54.2, and deliveries 43.1, which was kind of a bigger drop than the sales and the employment. And then pricing dipped slightly in both cases as well, going to your point there. Anything to add there?
I think it's reflective of what the current situation is, and we're rolling into an election year too, and as we it's not, even though it's not till next year, everything seems to be in full swing, and a lot of things are being done, and I think we've seen the runaway spending that's going on in D.C. that's causing kind of an overconsumption at times, I think, of some of this stuff. So, not a big surprise. It's going to be very interesting the last half of the year. Half the people you talk to that I've talked to are predicting a bit of a recession in the third quarter, and others are not seeing that at all. So it's such an unusual situation. It's just, for all the management teams out there that are listening, I think it just bears the opportunity to really be focused on the business right now, to make sure you're tracking things accurately and being able to be agile and react quickly to some of the things that are going on.
Yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag, and we'll get into it with the respondent commentaries a little bit. But reshoring going on, and in fact, the Wall Street Journal last weekend had a big article about increases in manufacturing, not so much manufacturing output, but in new factories being built and expansion. So that could come into play too, even if things slow down. That people supplying fasteners to the surge in manufacturing still might smooth things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other numbers we had, the inventories inched up a little bit, and you alluded to that as well, that people have got some higher inventories. Respondent inventories almost 70, inched up to 74, and customer inventories also went up to 48.6. So all those things together push the FDI below 50, but it's been kind of doing that for a while here. Staying below and then going back up, but then like a little bit of a yo-yo, but smoothing out, I think. So the forward-looking indicator, we saw that improved slightly, but almost basically the same as last time. And then we saw the 6-month outlook saw some slight improvement on the back end. We had 25% of the respondents thinking things are going to be better 6 months from now, 44% thinking it'll be the same, and 31% thinking they'll be worse. That number is down in March versus February, so maybe a little bit of improvement in general consensus there.
I think one topic that plays into that I wanted to talk about during this podcast was, I think what we're going to be seeing and what some of the challenges of this year. I think every CEO in the country, to include fastener companies, everybody has gone down to their purchasing group and said, listen, we need to get some of these costs down again. I want to see prices go down, and we want to get that money back that we had to give up in order to try and maintain our production. But the problem is, as a supplier, right, every one of those customers came to us and said, listen, whatever you do what it takes not to shut us down. And so many of us built up inventory to protect our customers. Mm-hmm. And so there's a real dichotomy where now they're going to come and they want to hammer you on price. But the fact is, we have this expensive inventory that is sitting here that has to get burned off first. Every one of us can be just as competitive as the next guy when you're talking about getting a fresh cost from today, right, versus what it was 18 months ago.
Right.
We can show our customers a reduction in price based on what's going on in the marketplace. But, it's one of those when you sit with the customer and say, hey, listen, big fella, we've got to burn off this inventory first, and then we'll show you everything you want. Because remember, you came to us as your partner and you said, listen, you need to protect us. And we did. And now you can't forget that. And so I really see that as I talk to people within the industry as being one of the biggest challenges of this year, is that burning off the inventory. And then, of course, we can be competitive and give you something that's 3, 5, 7, 10% cheaper, whatever it might be, But we got to deal with the inventory that's sitting here that we did what we said we would do. So I think almost everybody that's listening is in the same position, I would think. And that's going to be the challenge because we all want to get new business. But the fact is there's going to be a lot of inventory to burn off. So I think it's going to be a challenge and something that I think this particular group, again, that's listening is going to have to pay attention to is making sure those inventories are consumed.
Now, are you getting having those conversations with customers, and how are they reacting?
Yes, absolutely having those kind of customer conversations, and then generally they're reacting positively.
Right, they're like, "Yes, we remember."
Generally, but there are always some people that want to be difficult and say, "Well, that's a business decision you made," and and it's like, "Oh, really?" So you have to be careful, but it's one of those things that it's. I think as a general rule, and a lot of it is educating your customer ahead of time. Don't wait until there's some sort of a crash of the relationship, but make sure you're communicating and talking to people and making sure they understand that this has got to get consumed for everybody's benefit.
Good. Well, that's good. That's a good point and a good approach to it, I think. So we had. Let's see some of the other comments on the report that was issued. That we had participants' demand commentary was mixed, and some cited, as I mentioned earlier, reshoring trends and automotive strength is driving solid demand, while others noted softening general industry conditions and stagnant demand. So kind of a mixed bag that we've alluded to here. And the automotive strength is that something that you guys are experiencing as well, or that you're tapping into?
No, we don't do that much at Martin. We don't do that much with direct automotive. So that's we do supply tier 1s and 2s at times, but that's not a core for us.
Yeah, because that's always an interesting thing because we've had all the supply chain issues with cars and no inventory and no chips and no people paying stocking fees, and I think that's gone away, and we're starting to see some discounts creeping back into the automotive advertising. So I think it's an interesting sector to watch. Any sectors that you guys are covering that you're seeing any particular surprises right now?
No, not particularly. We're pretty diversified at this point. We're scattered among probably a dozen different industries. So we don't have anything that's really more than 20%, 15, 18, maybe percent of our sales. So we're in a whole mix of things, whether it's construction, whether it's industrial manufacturing of a variety of types, lawn and garden type products. So it's a wide variety that we're involved with.
All right. Well, let's move on to the some of the customer commentary. Overall, customer respondent commentary. Most commentary suggested concerns over potential weakening in the economy. Outlook was slightly more positive on balance this quarter. The first comment we just have a handful of comments this time. The first one was, quote, "We continue to plan around the expected third quarter recession," unquote. And then another one, quote, "Expecting business to be stagnant or down for the second quarter. Inventories are a problem across the board. Still hard to hire. Getting easier, but good candidates disappear quickly," end quote. What do you guys, any thing you want to add to that, or what are you seeing on the hiring side?
Still really hard to find good quality people because as the one note in this report stated, the good ones seem to disappear quickly. So it's a challenge trying to find the right position, the right person for the right position and fill it. You start to lean more towards talent now versus experience, if that's an issue within the Fastener Group. Now, we personally, as we've been working our growth plans here at Martin Fastening, we've been very fortunate to have been able to get some really good experienced people. We've added by 5 people in the last 90 days and over 150 years of Fastener experience between the 5 people, getting close to 200 years. So, and we need that for the kind of growth that we've got in our plans and expansion. We've historically been a regional fastener distribution company in the American Southeast. As we look at expansion, we need to get that kind of skill sets. And so we've been very fortunate to be able to find people like that. But as you go into the warehouse level and stuff like that, it's hard to find someone that's going to stick and really work hard and be a positive part of the culture within the company. So it's certainly a mix.
All right. Well, the last comment we had, it was related to reshoring, as some people are seeing that as a positive catalyst for growth in the near term. Quote, as a manufacturer, we are seeing an increase in interest of reshoring product back to the United States. This alone has caused an increased outlook for the short-term future, end quote. And are you guys experiencing some reshoring or taking advantage of that?
Yes. Yeah, we are. We are seeing customers looking at that type of thing, especially reshoring from China down to Mexico and other low-cost areas within the U.S. And then that is also hopefully, because my roots when I started coming out of college was in fastener manufacturing with a company called Rockford Products. So, I mean, as I started 37 years ago, I've always loved manufacturing and just fell in love with it for the first time when I did a little tour when I was going through the job interviews. So I do hope that we're going to see more and more growth within that sector for people. I mean, these are good paying jobs, paying real good money. And I think it's a good, honest day's work, and it's going to contribute. And I think the more we can do that, the better. So I hope that is something that's sustainable, and that we as the American consumer always have a tendency we love cheap, and I hope we don't gravitate back to that. And we try and find some good, high-quality people that are cost competitive here in the States, and really bolster our economy and our labor force.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a good trend, and as you point out, I agree with you. I hope it's sustainable because it's really a good thing. And I've been involved in manufacturing-based industries for about the same length as you, so I have a fondness for it as well. So it's a good thing that I think is going on right now. You joined Martin in January. So what can you tell us what's going on at Martin? And you talked a little bit about some of the people you've added in
Sure.
that. But
very exciting time. Martin is such an iconic company. Been around over 80 years. 4 generations of the family have been running it, which I just love. And the third generation basically are 3 brothers, and they're the ones that are that run the company currently. The gentleman I report to, Doug, has been really great to work with. The core business here for Martin for years has been the MRO, safety, cutting tools, and they're just very excellent at that, and they have a national presence. But the Fastener division, which had come to them 20 years ago in an acquisition here in Jackson, Tennessee, it made money and it was just kind of moving along, but really had not gotten the growth spurt that the other divisions have had. And so I just had the good fortune that Doug, chose to reach out and have a conversation with me, which I just jumped all over. I thought it would be an incredible opportunity to take over a division that's profitable, great people in place. But now let's talk about growing and growing, which is what I've done historically in my career, and is grow companies. So, that's been the first 90 days have been, getting our processes set up for rapid growth. Our goal is to double in size in 3 years, and we're going to, do that through people and high quality people, and we've been able to add to our staff to the people we already had in place, and everybody's melding together really well, and culturally it's good, and we're just going to go out there and set our own economy, meaning, everybody talks about the concerns, but we really don't care about that. We're going to make our own economy, and we're going to grow, and we're going to give our customers world-class service and quality, delivery, all the things that need to happen, and hopefully be more reactive as being family-owned and a smaller company, that some of the big, this is definitely a Davy and Goliath situation. Little old Martin Fastening is up against the monsters that are $1 billion and more, and or $500 million and more, and so that's all right. We just got to be better at what we do and be more responsive to our customers. So, great people, great location. I love Tennessee. It's been fun. I sold my house in Illinois recently, and we just bought last week, so we're still opening up boxes here in Jackson. But I love the no state income tax. I love the weather. The real estate taxes are extremely cheap compared to Illinois. And so the cost of living is a lot more reasonable. It's a beautiful climate, good people. And so I think we have everything we need to be successful here, and a wonderful ownership group that is just absolutely committed to their people and to the growth of the company for the long term. So I couldn't ask for a better situation for myself.
Well, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you're at the front end of a great story that over the next 3 years you're going to double in size, family business, David and Goliath. But you guys aren't super tiny. I saw that you were number 44 on the Industrial Distribution Big 50 list. But yeah, smaller than the top 10 for sure. But
well, in the fastener side of it, we're the smallest division of the group. I mean, the company will do close to $300 million in sales this year. So, as you referenced off of that list, so but
wrapping down in the billions. So yeah, still a little bit of that fighting underdog story.
Exactly, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love to be competitive and get out there and present a business proposition or a value proposition to customers that they can't say no to.
Now, if listeners want to check out some of the news that you guys have been reporting, then go to martinsupply.com, go to the About, and then the news section and see what some of the things that you guys have posted there. I also saw on LinkedIn that you've got a job up there for a regional business manager. I don't know if that's still open, but people might want to check that out too.
Yep, we're hiring in different geographical areas in order to grow. So we've added one down in the Panhandle area with John Butler, seasoned veteran within the industry, incredible background, very technical. We have another gentleman I can't say yet. He starts May 1st. He'll be up in the upper Midwest to help us up there, and he's got an incredible background. So we're adding all the right kind of people, and that we should have the experience and savvy to be successful.
Yeah, I saw a note from John Butler that he's in Florida too, so he's going for the no state income tax like you.
Oh yeah.
I think lots of people are considering that these days. So
sure.
Good. All right. Anything else you want to tell us about what you guys have planned, or just stay tuned?
Just stay tuned. We've got a lot of exciting things that are happening. We're, increasing our innovation and technology and, all the way, everything across the board. We're enhancing it. And so we're going to be a much different company than what people might have run across 2 years ago.
Very good. It's good to hear these stories. So I want to thank you for coming back onto the Fastener News Report. It's good to have you on. It's been a long run for you, and always good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
That was Marc Strandquist. He's the Executive Vice President, Fastening Solutions at Martin Incorporated. The FDI number for March 2023 was a respectable 48.6 versus 51.6 in February. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. The 9th Fastener Fair Global Trade Show recently ended after 3 successful show days at the fairgrounds in Stuttgart, Germany. Almost 11,000 trade visitors from 83 countries attended the event to discover the latest innovations, products, and services from all areas of fastener and fixing technology, and to connect with other industry professionals. Fastener Fair Global 2023 welcomed around 1,000 exhibitors from 46 countries, filling up 4 halls of the exhibition venue. Covering a net exhibition space of over 250,000 square feet, a 4.3 increase compared to the previous show in 2019, exhibitors presented industrial fasteners and fixings, construction fixings, assembly and installation systems, and fastener manufacturing technology. As a result, the 2023 edition represents the biggest Fastener Fair Global show to date. Stephanie Siri, Fastener Fair Global Event Manager, had this to say, quote, "After 4 long and challenging years since the last edition took place in 2019, Fastener Fair Global 2023 reasserted its position in the industry as the go-to event for the manufacturing and industrial sector. Both the show size and strong participation testify to the importance of the event as a milestone for the fastener and fixing sector internationally and serves as an economic indicator of the growth of this industry," end quote. A first analysis of the exhibitor feedback shows that participating companies were highly satisfied with the outcome. A large majority of exhibitors were able to reach their target groups, and they praised the high quality of the show visitors. The next Fastener Fair Global takes place March 25th to 27th, 2025 at the Stuttgart Exhibition Grounds in Germany. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In corporate news, Birmingham Fastener opened its newest branch, Phoenix Fastener, in Arizona. Prairie Rivet has partnered with several manufacturers' reps, North Star Sales and Marketing, Feeks & Associates, MKH Sales, Bud Sales, and Lee S. Johnson Associates. Autobolt added Formax and Videx machines to its manufacturing operations. Shannon Precision Fastener opened a new 170,000 square foot manufacturing facility. Empire Bolt and Screw opened a warehouse distribution facility in South Carolina. Blackhawk Industrial acquired Stocked Supply. Ramco Specialties expanded its Michigan operations, and Nefco completed the acquisition of Southwest Fastener. In personnel news, Dr. Catherine Wesch Potente is now part of the Bolhoff Group's Board of Management. Carmen Vertullo of Carver Engineering and Manufacturing and Fully Threaded Radio fame was named the NFDA's 2023 Fastener Professional of the Year. FDH Aero appointed Ken Asso as Chief Operating Officer. Amy Jones was named the new branch manager at Brighton Best International in Nashville. David Palmquist has joined Desert Distribution Sales. And Frederick Neely takes over as the new Bufab CFO on May 1st. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about local manufacturing. Reshoring and or locating manufacturing operations close to where products will be used isn't just an accelerating trend that is gaining more steam. It is almost always smart, logical, and profitable to make things close to home when local conditions are safe, attractive, welcoming, and reasonable. European and Asian automotive manufacturers have been following the local manufacturing blueprint for decades, and it seems that many other sectors are catching on, including companies in the fastener industry. The Reshoring Initiative reports that USA reshoring and foreign direct investment job announcements in 2022 were at the highest rate ever recorded, 51% higher than in 2021, which was the previous record. Furthermore, the latest Building American Manufacturing Resilience Survey, conducted by Forbes and John Zogby Strategies, reveals that 55% of American CEOs whose companies depend on manufacturing to produce and deliver their goods have planned to reshore operations. And 95% of those CEOs said that they would do so in this calendar year. In its Easter 2023 weekend edition, the Wall Street Journal had a headline that grabbed my attention. Quote, "America is back in the factory business," end quote. The story cited record spending on manufacturing construction as a catalyst for a made-in-the-USA rebound, driven by incentives and supply chain concerns. Key points made included, number one, production at USA factories rose last year, but few things were produced at a more furious pace than factories themselves. Number two, construction spending related to manufacturing reached $108 billion in 2022, the highest annual total on record, more than was spent to build schools, healthcare centers, or office buildings. Number three, new factories are rising in urban cores, in rural fields, desert flats, and surf towns. Much of the growth is coming in the high-tech fields of electric vehicle batteries and semiconductors, national priorities that are backed by billions of dollars in government incentives. And number four, other companies that once relied exclusively on lower-cost countries to manufacture products have found reasons to come home. Many executives share the sentiment that this trend is here to stay, and it seems that this movement is going on not just in America, but all over the world. I expect local production and sourcing will be on the minds of people that are visiting Nashville in May to exhibit at or attend the Fastener Fair USA Trade Fair. Fastener Technology International magazine will be there in booth 343. You can see our 17-page preview article starting on page 78 of the April-May issue at fastenertech.com. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Stainless Dan here, coming to you from Star Stainless. Star quality is more than products, just the way Wayne wanted it to be. It's simple. We're Star.
My name is Ashley Parker. I am a member of the sales team at Parker Fasteners out here in Buckeye, Arizona. Parker Fasteners is a quality manufacturer of fasteners such as aerospace, military, commercial, and much more. They could be something that you put in a vehicle, in your eyewear, in computers, and much more. We actually just experienced a 40% growth just in last year. Here at Parker, we take pride in the quality of our product. Doing so, we want every employee to take pride in the product. So we take the time to show you, teach you everything there is to know about screws. It's actually kind of a fun industry. It's a growing industry. The possibilities are endless. Parker Fasteners is forging the future for many years to come, and I encourage you to be a part of that.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. InSequel delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. Quality software, affordable pricing, industry-leading support. Only InSequel can deliver all three. www.inxsql.com.
Cut the no quotes out of the equation. Eurolink is your go-to resource for uncommon and hard-to-find metric fasteners that others can't even quote. Contact the sales team at eurolinkfss.com and get your hard-to-find metric fasteners delivered.
Well, hey, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Fact Center in El Cajon, California. Today's topic comes from a former student who had a nonconformance generated by their customer because some threaded eye bolts that they sent would not take the go gauge on the threads. So they called me up and said, "We don't understand it. The customer complains it won't take their go gauge, but it takes our go gauge. What the hell?" So when I come back, we'll talk about how we can resolve the issue regarding my gauge works and yours doesn't on externally threaded fasteners.
At Worth, status quo isn't an option. Worth is a global supply chain solutions provider of fasteners, MRO, and safety products, along with value-added services like kitting and assembly, 3D printing, and engineering assistance. Find out what Worth can do for you at worthindustry.com.
Quality products, quality service, quality customers. That's 3Q Inc., a fastener distributor unlike any you've worked with before. With its unique remote managed inventory stocking programs, wide array of secondary service offerings, and wholly owned cold forming capability, 3Q Inc. has been supporting fastener distributors since 2008. 3Q offers a wide range of 100% American-made fasteners, including ITW SEMS lock washers, as well as specialty and imported parts. Give 3Q a call today to discuss your needs and experience 3Q quality for yourself. 3Q Inc. www.3q-inc.com.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Fastener Training Minute and today's episode regarding one gauge works and the other does not. This is a relatively easy problem to solve because the standards that govern our inch threads, ASME B1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, deal with this problem very well. In ASME B1.2, which governs how we use our gauges, it's very clearly stated that if any particular acceptable gauge finds the thread characteristic acceptable, then it is deemed acceptable. Now, it goes without saying, even though it's not written in the standard, but it is implicit or implied that even if another acceptable gauge finds the part not in conformance. So it only takes one acceptable gauge to make the part conforming. If another one finds it not conforming, too bad. Now, when this happens, chances are the part is pretty close to the edge And if one go ring gauge finds the part in conformance, that is, it goes, and the other one does not go, you might want to check calibration. Ring gauges are very delicate. If you drop one, for example, on the floor, it could very easily run that gauge out of tolerance, and then it wouldn't work. Or you could find another method to inspect the threads, such as variables gauging, which is not a requirement, but a really cool way to inspect external threads. And maybe that gauge would find it acceptable. Regardless of what that gauge finds, it should find that the part is very close to the edge when one ring gauge takes it and another doesn't. Now, on the upside, the way threads and fasteners are designed, threads that are very close to the edge, even over, will still work. Okay, it is not a problem. And at the end of the day, one of the best solutions might be to say to the customer, hey, what are you going to do with this thread? Are you going to screw a nut onto it? Are you going to screw it into a tapped hole? Let's go see if it'll go. And if it goes, then that could be the end of the problem, and you just move on to something that actually requires a solution. Well, there are lots of other things that can cause our external threads to be not accepted by the end user, and on our next Fastener Training Minute, we'll discuss some of those. This has been the Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Alan Weitzman with JC Sales and Rivet. Visit us for all your rivet needs on www.rivetsonline.com. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
The Nuts and Bolts of Leadership podcast launched in February. It's a new podcast hosted by Billy Duren, President and Chief Motivational Officer of Mobile, Alabama-based Threaded Fasteners, along with his co-host and producer, Haley Gibson. When I first saw the post for the new podcast flash up on LinkedIn, it caught my attention, of course, especially with Threaded Fasteners being a longtime FCH member. Billy Duren is here with me now to talk about the nuts and bolts of leadership. Billy, hello.
Hey, Eric, man, I'm very excited to be here. This is going to be an interesting exercise for me, getting you to talk about the podcast, getting to talk about threaded fasteners. I'm telling you, I am pumped and ready to go.
Yeah, two predominantly fastener-related guys talking about predominantly podcasting this time. Is that what this is?
I mean, what is this world that we're living in?
Yeah. We'll figure it out during our conversation here. But actually, you're predominantly leadership in your new podcast, aren't you? I mean, let's start there. Let's talk all about the nuts and bolts of leadership. We're going to talk about that, about threaded fasteners, of course. But what's the new podcast all about, Billy?
Well, several years ago, I started. I've been in the business for quite a while. I'm becoming one of those seasoned fastener guys. And I started exploring the idea because I have a passion for leadership, teaching leadership. Leadership development is one of the core focuses now that we have shifted to at Threaded Fasteners. We want to be developing a pipeline of leadership. And several years ago, I started toying around with the idea of writing a book, and it was called The Nuts and Bolts of Leadership. And from that, I started drafting some notes for my book. And then we had the platform of LinkedIn, and we started posting some things on LinkedIn, The Nuts and Bolts of Leadership. And Haley, who is a brilliant marketing director for our company, just such a visionary, what an awesome and incredible individual she is. Haley kind of took the idea, and we started kicking around the idea of doing a podcast. And we really wanted to do it for our internal purposes, internal communication, so that our team could hear not only from its own leadership, but also we were bringing in people who are proven leaders, not in the fastener business, but just proven leaders. So we believe our audience is we've targeted emerging leaders and developed leaders. And those are also people at our company that we're wanting to communicate to as well. So it started out as a place to create content for our team. But then when the podcast kicked off, we started getting some really positive feedback. And of course, over the years, we've developed a network of CEOs, presidents, of companies. And it's just been such a cool experience hearing the stories, because, Eric, I'm a storyteller, you're a storyteller, and oftentimes some of the greatest leadership principles and examples, we call them wisdom nuggets on our podcast, but some of those little nuggets of wisdom just pop up. And when you're hearing people's story, you go, man, that sounds a lot like my story. Or, I think of course, if Billy can do it, anybody can do it. You start hearing those stories, and it's been a great and incredible way for us to encourage around that, and also bringing in those leaders and letting them tell their story. So the nuts and bolts of leadership focuses on what leadership looks like. So, when you hear that phrase, the nuts and bolts, that kind of gets down to the basics when we use that phrasing. And that's what the podcast is. It really gets down to the basic. How do you get started in leadership? What does leadership look like on a daily basis? And then, do I have the capability, the capacity to be a leader and an influencer in my organization? And that's really what we talk about.
And so you've got 6 of these in the can. I had a chance to listen to several of them. I have to say that right out of the gate, you guys have already got a very professional sound, very nicely done. Again, as I said at the top, Billy, it's good to have people, or it must be good. I tell you, it took us a long time to smooth it out to the point where you guys are already. So you're way ahead of the game. And I can't wait to see what you have next. Now, thus far, have you noticed any themes developing in what you're hearing from your guests? I mean, there have to be.
Yeah, actually, and that's where Haley's brilliance comes in. And by the way, since you ask about that, Johnny Gwynn is our engineer at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama. Incredible engineer. Johnny is just, he's one of those guys that he works magic. So I really have enjoyed kind of learning the mechanics sort of behind the curtain, how the podcasts are put together. But Haley has worked, Haley and I have been working together around creating some themes. So we were talking earlier before we got started today on what your first, second, 10th, 20th show look like. And when you go back and look how it's evolved now into what you have today, and, an incredible podcast that you have. But I think that whether it's a podcast or any kind of production type of program, it evolves over time. And ours is already beginning to evolve a little bit in that we are developing some leadership themes. So we had a gentleman on just recently. He talked about their communication platforms and what his company is doing to create these level 10 meetings, the way that we engage with our team. We had another guest on he's a sports announcer, and he talked about the interview process and how to ask the right questions, and even how to ask tough questions. So yeah, you're right. The themes are kind of beginning to develop around each guest. Next Monday we've got a guest that's coming on, and he's a CEO chairman of a company that has over 6,000 employees. We know that might not be relevant to everyone. There aren't very many companies that have 6,000 employees. But what Ray's going to do is he's going to talk to us about his journey, how he got started, how he moved from this phase of leadership to this, and kind of what those steps were. So there's always relevance when you're talking to leaders, proven leaders. There's always relevance because you can always go, how did you start? What can I do to kind of duplicate what you've done? What are you reading? What did your processes look like? So relevance is important, and you are 100% right. Themes are beginning to develop around the shows.
And so with that, I have to ask a question of you that you've put to several of your guests, and that is, who inspired you along your path to leadership? You've been in the leadership role over there at Threaded Fasteners since, when was it you were president named, like 2007?
Yes, I was named as the president of the company in 2007, and then president and CEO in 2012. our process was our former owners, Frank Martin and Steve Schultz, as founders of our organization. They were they were both hugely influenced in my life, and watching these guys who essentially started a fastener company really out of the almost out of the back of a truck, and the success that they brought to the organization. Of course, they were huge influencers in my life, but I believe just kind of over time during my journey, there were people that would just walk into my life. I'm not bashful about sharing my faith, and I believe that God just kind of brought people into my life as I was getting ready for them, and men and women just kind of slowly started showing up for me, and my development came with a number of people that help encourage me in leadership. But I would say that Coach Mike Godfrey, was one of the most influential men in my life when it comes to leadership, because he is such a he's such a calming voice, but he is the one who taught me to be looking for those wisdom nuggets, and they show up everywhere. I hope I get the time to tell you a story that happened to me this morning of just a little piece of wisdom that I picked up on my way over here today. But Coach Mike Godfrey would be that person in my life. He has influenced me, and tremendous, humble man that's had a huge impact on my life.
Well, let's not get too far away from that wisdom nugget. Let's lay it on us, Billy.
Well, here, if you ever listen to me talk about leadership, I'm gonna somewhere along the way, I'm gonna be talking about servant leadership, and I believe that we are servants to our team, we are servants to our clients. The mission statement at our company is to create value in and for the people we serve. And I was in one of my favorite places to eat. I love breakfast restaurants, IHOP, Cracker Barrel, Waffle House. Those are my favorite places. Love to stop by there in the morning. And I'm not going to call one of these out, but at a breakfast establishment this morning, I came in, and as I was being seated, the food was great. I was getting ready to walk out the door, and the general manager, I just wanted to pay my check and leave, but the general manager was telling the next group of people coming into the restaurant, she said, "I'm sorry, but we only have one server here today." And I was sitting there, and I was impacted by that statement, because anytime I hear the word serve or serving or server, it's going to get my attention. And I was thinking to myself, you only have one, what you call server, but general manager, you are a server. The cooks in the kitchen are a server. Everybody under that roof is a server. And we get this idea that we kind of get in these lanes, and, when we advance in the organization, now I get to be the servee. But I believe that genuine leadership evolves, thrives, is nurtured, and encouraged around the term servant. So when we are able to serve with genuineness, I'm not talking about phony serving. I'm talking about being a genuine servant. That's how I believe real leaders begin to develop. You start seeing someone willing to, as they're walking in from work, stop up and pick a piece of paper up off the ground, or they're pushing something out of the way. They're holding the doors open. I'll see one of my managers walking across the floor, and one of our guys are wrapping a pallet, and I see that manager jump in, and he gets on the other side of that thing, and they start, wrapping that pallet together. That is a servant leader, and that's a guy that's going to advance, or a gal that's going to advance in our organization, because that's what I'm looking for in leadership.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you take that nugget and you apply it to the culture of your company. It's very clear from what you say on the podcast, and also various places in your website, that you're all about culture. And you also talk a lot about using your own personal leadership style, using the best parts of you, shall we say. And for you, you're obviously a high energy kind of guy. And so I think service probably comes a little bit more naturally to you than it might to some others, doesn't it?
Well, it's funny that I would never even identify myself as a high energy person. But when I start talking about this, I get a lot of energy. It's kind of odd. But yes, I think that culture is everything. But culture is not something that is independent of people. Culture is the people. So, we're wanting to hire the right people, because if you hire the right people, the culture takes care of itself. We just identified just real recently. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to roll this out in a kind of a state of the company address on next Wednesday. Our 3 core values, we've boiled them down to something very simple. So they're easy to remember, they're easy to repeat, and then maybe not always easy to identify, but that's what we're going to be doing next. But this is what we're looking for, Eric. We're looking for people that are humble, hungry, and aware. There's 3 simple things. I want people that are that are humble. It's we, not I. I want people that are hungry. That means that, there are urgencies for our customers. We're going to serve our customers. Hungry in that we're not satisfied with status quo. We want to be better. We want to continuously improve. We want to show not only each other that we want to improve. We want to show our clients that we are constantly moving forward. We were just here in our Meridian office today, and we had a customer come in and said, "Hey, we need some bin labeling done. Can you guys print labels and do scanning for me?" Absolutely, because we're not satisfied with the status quo. We want to continue to improve. And then aware, self-awareness is probably one of the greatest leadership qualities there are, in that you are aware of the situation around you. You have an awareness of, I'm not too loud. I'm not butting in. I'm not talking over. That's a thing I'm still working on. I talk over a lot and interrupt a lot, but that is a character trait that I'm still trying to develop. So culture can't be managed from the grandstands. Culture's got to be down there on the floor. Your doors got to be open. You got to be talking with your team. Culture has to not only be nurtured, culture's got to be protected, because if you're not careful, every now and then a cultural terrorist will get hired. And if you're not careful, that culture terrorist does a lot of damage out there on the floor, and they're not, they're not pulling their part. They're not owning their part, is what we like to talk about. They are corrupting other people around them. So you got to be on guard for those culture terrorists.
Yeah, wow, that's a provocative term in 2023. I got to say that.
Well, you know what? As a matter of fact, I've been called out on that. Some have changed that to cultural misfits instead of cultural terrorists. How about that? Maybe that'll be a more politically correct term.
Or saboteur. How about that
there
one?
There you go. Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to jot that down.
Well, I get your point, though. I mean, you put somebody in and they just sort of, it's a turd in the pool, and even if it's a Baby Ruth, it just doesn't work.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I think everyone has. Well, everyone around our age.
That's right.
Yeah, there's probably going to be an opportunity for you in an upcoming episode to take a look at some of the dynamics of the current times we live in. I think that there's a lot of touchy subjects out there. And I think leaders are probably going to have to do even more tiptoeing in certain areas than they ever have before. And that's kind of a whole topic area. It has to be covered very carefully. Have you ever considered how you're going to approach things like that on your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I have a really good friend of mine who is, she worked in the Obama administration. She is, well, I always say that she is my token liberal friend and I'm her token conservative friend, but we're really good friends. And she is a champion for company culture, but our political lens are completely different. But how we've come together and created this friendship around, we want to grow people, we want to help encourage people, we want to help them on their leadership journey, we want them to be the best version of themselves. And we can talk about some of these things offline that are divisive and kind of lay our opinion on it. But what we're not going to do at the office, and we had a pretty rigid stance around that when we were going through all the COVID stuff. The COVID stuff created some, not only cultural, but political divides. And, what we said going through that was, listen, I would encourage you to turn off your television. Let's do what we see in front of us each day. Everybody's got their own political viewpoints about things, but we're not going to bring things into the office that cause division. We're about creating value in and for the people we serve. We have a heart to serve people, and all that other junk, that's going to live outside the culture of Threaded Fasteners. It's not coming into our organization. If we need to address something, we'll address it, and then we're going to move on. So that's just kind of how we've handled that so far. And I think it's worked well for us. Have we had to ask for forgiveness sometimes? Yes. But sometimes asking for forgiveness instead of permission is kind of the route that we've taken.
Right. And think that that's probably very reasonable. But, we're in a world now where it seems inevitable, actually, that we run into dead ends in trying to have conversations. I mean, let's face it, there's just some people, and I'm not particularly focusing on any view at this point. I'm just saying that there are times when we just come to loggerheads and when there's really no resolution. And I think there's more of that than there ever has been. You see it all around you. It's definitely a leadership issue, I think, probably out there that I don't know how we look at it.
Well, I think like everything else, I think we can be overly concerned about the things we can't control, or we can try to dial into the things that we can control. There are some things that I cannot control, and I'll, in full confession, full transparency, I've probably spent a little more time on that than I really want to admit. But when it comes right down to it, what can I control in front of me? How am I bringing value to the person that is next to the next cubicle, the next workstation, in our leadership teams, in our senior leader groups, all these things how do I bring value here? I don't want to bring divisiveness. That's not what we're about. And I'm going to fight hard to make sure that's never part of our culture.
Absolutely good advice. So let's talk a little bit more about the way that you're managing the podcast then. What are you doing to build your audience? How are you approaching that one, you and Haley?
Well, it's, what we've done so far, we obviously will post on LinkedIn when we have a new podcast that drops. But what we've encouraged is our guest. Our last podcast dropped yesterday with Dan Reinhardt, a friend of mine who's a president of Salem Fabrication Supplies in North Carolina. And then Dan would release that through his marketing group to his team. So it just kind of goes from there. And then we've had other guests on the podcast that would do the same. So, I'm not really sure, what our strategy is in terms of growing the audience, because we originally set up for this to be an internal communication campaign. I'm not sure that we will. If it grows organically and it kind of does something on its own, that'll be fine. But our intention was to create a platform to us talk about and develop our own ideas around leadership. Sometimes you have to talk about what your idea is before you really even know, kind of where you are on different things. So it's really been a neat experience. Our board is in support of this, and our leadership team's in support of it. And it's been a lot of fun for me. But I do think that we will develop from this. I do believe that we'll develop some leadership notes for internal working, and also picking up those wisdom nuggets. We everybody that comes on is dropping these nugget wisdom. The guy that, he's a friend of mine. He hosts the Randy Kennedy radio show. Randy Kennedy talked about when he was, in leadership at a young age, realizing he was leadership on a football team. He's the quarterback, so he's the leader. But what he did recognize was I was striving for perfection, and I got frustrated in striving in perfection. So I think that there's a lot of coaching around our leaders that can hear that story and go, listen, we're not asking you to be perfect. We want you to be excellent, not perfect. If you strive for perfection, you can live in some frustrating times trying to do that. We want you to be the best version of who you can be, and that is striving to be excellent. So little things like that, we can take that and use it and coach in our own organization. So, it's been a fun thing, but I'll tell you, it's been much more substantial from a content standpoint that I would have imagined. I told Haley when we did our first podcast, I had a friend of mine who's a CEO, Admix, out of New Hampshire. They're an industrial mixing company, and they are a global organization. And Mike was in the studio, and we were doing the podcast, and I had kind of a script for, I had framed in what we were going to ask. And man, that first 20 minutes, we took a break. I felt like I ran a marathon. It was intense, and it isn't easy as you think, but you and I had talked a little earlier. Once it becomes conversational and really, that's what we're striving for. Just like you and I are doing now. Just you and I would have the same conversation if we were sitting here at this table with a cup of coffee. That's what I want it to be like. I want it to be conversational. I want it to be, smooth as we can make it. But I want to, when I hear something that Mike says or that one of our guests says, I want to be able to pivot to that and say, wait, let's pick up on that. Tell me more about that. So that's kind of how it's worked so far, and I'm really encouraged by how it's going so far.
Well, again, it's right out of the gate, very professional sounding. I'm guessing that you have some favorite podcasts that you listen to, maybe somebody that inspired you. Who might those be?
Well, I'll have to go back. I was so, podcasts before podcasts were cool were audiobooks. So I was an audiobook guy, and I found out early into my career, I traveled the whole Southeast for our company, and I was in outside sales, and somebody told me that you can check books out at the library and they'll read them to you. I said, what? I mean, I'm going to get to start reading books without ever turning the pages. Now, I will tell you this in full disclosure, my wife will not let me take credit for reading a book if it's an audio book. She won't let me take credit for it. So I have to tell people I'm in this book instead of telling them that I'm reading a book. But no, it was Zig Ziglar. I started listening to Zig Ziglar when I was probably 33, 34 years old. And, for the first time in my life, I'd ever heard someone say, you can do it. If you work hard, you can have anything you want. And that was kind of the beginning of that leadership encouragement. I checked out the book, See You at the Top, Zig Ziglar. I listened to the cassettes I listened to them so many times they broke and I had to buy them from the library. But that's how it got started for me. And, Zig Ziglar's phrasing, the thing that I remember him, and I tweak his phrase a little bit. His famous phrase was, you can have anything in life you want if you can just help enough other people get what they want. That was his phrasing. And that was about servanthood. And I didn't even recognize it then, but I've tweaked it a little bit. You can have anything in life you need if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that's kind of where my heart's desire has been. I'm kind of, built a career around that model. I'm married to one of the most wonderful people in the world, an angel. If not for her, my career would not be what it is today. And that's kind of my story. But it was those audio books that got me started. Podcast now for me is mostly, it's not very much business stuff except for Patrick Lencioni. I listen to At the Table with Patrick Lencioni, one of my favorite writers. So if there was a podcast that I turned to most often, it would be Patrick Lencioni's.
Okay, cool. I will check that out. Always good to know what inspires people.
Well, Brad Haynes was on he was our third or fourth episode, and Brad is a consultant for the Table Group, which is Patrick Lencioni's company. And we did some work with Brad. So I have read Patrick Lencioni's books for years, probably for over 20 years. I've been reading his material, and he writes his stories in fable form. So he writes this little mini novel, but all the business practices are weaved inside the novel or the fable. And it's an incredible way to write. I mean, it's brilliant, actually. So 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. If you want to start with a great book, start there.
Duly noted. We'll circle back to that one next time we talk, Billy.
Good.
I'll take one of your terms now. Let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about threaded fasteners. And you gave us the background already, or the very early parts, but you have turned into a giant in Southeast region. And what can you tell us?
Well, our company, when I came to work for Threaded Fasteners, there were 6 of us. I was hired to sweep the floor. I could not read a tape measure. I was a college dropout. Actually, I was going to college. I was soon to be college dropout. Got married not long after I got started there. Went a couple years to college, and had some great guys to work with. Like I said, Frank Martin, Steve Schultes, brilliant men, great sales guys, taught me so many things about life and was so good to me and Tracy in our early marriage and our early years. And the company just sort of began to grow organically there in Mobile. And we opened up a store over in Pensacola Florida, which is about 50, 60 miles to the east. And then, as some of the guys that have been there for a while, we started moving into, sales positions and general manager position. We started, talking to Steve and Frank about, their vision and where is this going to go. And, of course, these guys are getting a little bit older and, they're kind of moving towards the end of their career. So, from a risk tolerance, they were probably, I'm not really sure if we want to get into this huge expansion. We're kind of thinking about our pathway out. But anyway, we opened another organic location in Gulfport, which is about 60 miles to the west. So, and then Frank retired in 2007, and then Steve retired in 2012. And our company is employee owned. So, we bought the shareholders out. And, then after that, we started, dreaming and, having a vision for growth, and we began to buy some companies. And I think we've had 6 or 7 acquisitions now. And, we are from Tulsa, Oklahoma down to Tampa, Florida. We have 20 different profit centers. Those are not all branch locations. I think there's 12 or 14 branch locations, but we have some manufacturing plant in Louisville, Texas, Sims, Alabama, which is Mobile, and then down in Tampa. So we're about 70%, 65-70% in distribution, and the balance of our business is in manufacturing. And let's see, what are we in now? 2000. So in 2021, we purchased RTC Threaders up in Indiana. So we have we wanted to get into the planetary thread rolling, and we actually had one planetary threader in-house, but I've always followed Rick Peace's career, and Rick was thinking about retiring. We just happened to get on the phone with him at the right time, and I don't think that was coincidental, but some people might. But we had a great conversation with Rick about, what he wanted to do, and so we purchased RTC Threaders, which is a vertical integration for us. We're buying threading equipment. Well, now we're making threading equipment. So that was a really cool move on our part. And then in 2018, we opened up our galvanizing plant, separate LLC, Quality Galvanizing. So we have I don't know what the right word is, morphed, evolved, continued to expand. It's really about having this great leadership team around you that has the ability to say, we can do this. What about this? Or why not this? Or, I mean, it's like I feel like at times I'm on a chariot and I got these race horses, down in front of me, maybe a stagecoach, not a chariot. That would suit me better. and I got these race horses out there, and I mean, I want to be out there with them running. So we have a great balance of visionaries, strategists, and, we do have that conservative nod on our senior leader group. We'll have a couple on our senior leader group that'll go, whoa, 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 pump the brakes on that. Let's slow down on that, but we have a really good balance in our leadership team. And, we've got a very aggressive vision to grow and continue to grow. And around that, when you're building a team of people with great character, and you kind of begin to develop a reputation in the industry of treating people right, and then they kind of hear about leadership development, and when people come to work for our company, we want to talk about their path to success. Our responsibility is to help point them back to their pathway to success. You start attracting people, and people start calling and saying, if anything ever comes up, I might be interested. So we get those calls, and then there are business owners out there. There are a lot of business owners that are looking at exiting, and we'll get those calls. Hey, if you guys are thinking about buying a company in this area, we might be interested in talking to you. So just a confluent. I'd love to say that word right. I might not be saying it right. It's just as it's a bunch of things that are happening, and they're happening sort of in sequence that really cause you to have a lot of good momentum. And it's exciting times. I've never been more excited than what I am now for our company.
Well, you mentioned these, I guess you were describing synchronicities. You didn't actually use the word, but earlier in our conversation, and then you just came back to it. And I agree. They seem to be happening more and more often. And a lot of people that I talk to seem to be experiencing the same thing.
Well, I will tell, learning and meeting people in our industry and developing the friendships just like you have over the years. We get to know a lot of great people, and you can't help but learn from them. Just like the people that we have mentioned on our podcast. That same industry people that we know. We have people that know people in our industry, and, hearing those ideas and following those ideas, and really a lot of people that are willing to share, this is working at our company. What about you guys need to try this? So all those things are part of what it takes to, build an organization. Anybody that thinks this organization has anything to do with one person, you'd be sadly mistaken. It is a team of people. It is always about the team and your willingness as a leader to allow them racehorses to run.
Right on. Well, so we come full circle to leadership, which is appropriate because we've been talking with Billy Duren. He, of course, is the host of the new podcast, Nuts and Bolts of Leadership. And when does the next episode drop?
So we're going to, I think Haley has set it up for us to have 12 episodes for season 1. And then we're going to start every other week. We just had an episode drop on Wednesday. So every other Wednesday. And then we're going to, if we can pull this off, we'll either go every other week for a new season, or we're going to start once a week. But I think that we've got somewhere between 35 and 40 people in the queue already. So it's been a really, really interesting process, to say the least.
Yeah, well, you must have the process set up pretty well if you've got it all mapped out like that, I'll say. So, and they're mercifully not 2.5 hours, so Tom Buddenbone will be able to listen.
Well, one of the, and it's really, it goes back to Haley's, Haley's a marketing genius. And, part of the model that we talked about was, we want to create a podcast that people can listen to just about an entire episode on the way to work. So we're trying to stay in that 30, 35, 40 minute window. Maybe you can get it either back and forth to work on some of them, but it's been a great, and it's actually been very humbling. We've had a lot of good response to it. Had no idea that it would be as much fun as it is.
And it is a lot of fun. And it's been fun talking to you, Billy. I sure am glad that we had this opportunity, and we're going to have to sit down again because I sense that there are a lot of things we could talk about once we kind of get the the novelty of the new podcast out of the way. Who knows where we could take this thing?
Well, I would love to come back on your show. I'm like I said, I'm a fan. I really appreciate us. I mean, I really appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this. Even the calls that we had prior to, us talking a little bit about prior to, I was very encouraged by our time together. And I just think great things about you and your program.
Really do appreciate that, Billy. The Nuts and Bolts of Leadership podcast brought to you by Threaded Fasteners. We've been talking with Billy Duren. He and his co-host and producer, Haley Gibson, put that out, and you can get it anywhere that podcasts are available. I grab it off my iPhone. I know it's out there on Spotify and pretty much all the outlets. So thanks again, Billy. We'll be talking to you real soon, and keep up the good work, will you?
Thanks, Eric.
It's Fully Threaded. We'll be right back, everyone.
In continued efforts to improve the industry standard, Goebel Fasteners has developed a patented new multi-grip lock bolt system made completely from T304 stainless steel. In applications where an extensive grip range is needed and a consistent flush pin break to the collar is favorable, the Goebel T304 stainless steel lock bolt system is the new and improved standard in the market. Essentially, the T304 stainless steel lock bolt system's extensive grip range and various sizes can replace up to 14 sizes of the classic 6-groove locking fastener system. Goebel Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
At Worth Industry North America, we know that in today's world, you need a supply chain partner that you can depend on. We provide the products you need to keep your business moving. Data-driven inventory management solutions, industry-leading technology, and the global stability of the Worth Group, combined with an unrelenting commitment to local partnership. Discover superior supply chain security at www.worthindustry.com.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, US Anchor, and IronClad performance wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
Hi, this is Bobby Wagner with Beacon Fasteners and Components. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you to close out another one. Well, Billy Duren is a leader in the fastener industry, interviewing other leaders. Sounds like a good podcast, Bri.
Yeah,
leadership, nuts and bolts of leadership.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be getting an invitation.
I think that would be sort of a smart idea, really, wouldn't you?
I'll tell you a couple other two leaders in the industry, Bob Reynolds and Dee Ward of InSequel and Marine Fasteners, respectively. They'll be joining us for the next episode of Fully Threaded Radio. Turns out InSequel software is 20 years old in May, Bri.
Wow, cool.
Big anniversary they've got coming up. We figured we'd have those two gentlemen on to discuss that as well as other related topics. Couldn't think of a better way to celebrate that milestone for InSequel.
Yeah, I think Marine Fasteners is one of their very early, if not original, customers.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, they go way back, and funny how these things work. It just, you don't even need to plan it sometimes, just all falls together. That was kind of like what happened when we invited Cool Hand on today, because I already had Marc Strandquist lined up before I knew anything about him joining Martin. And then as it turned out, we had back-to-back Martin Fastening Solutions guys, so you just never know in this game.
Right. That's cool. Those are good coincidences, though.
100%. Plenty of good mojo to go around from them and the fine sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio. The title sponsors of FTR are Brighton Best International, tested, tried, true, Brighton Best. Goebel Fasteners, quality the first time. Go Goebel. And Star Stainless Screw, right off the shelf. It's Star. Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, J. Lanfranco, Parker Fasteners, Solution Industries, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, and Worth Industry North America. Please let us know what you think of the podcast. If you have suggestions, questions, input, it's all welcome. FTR@fullythreaded.com. And get out to FCH Sourcing Network. That's fastenersclearinghouse.com. Anytime you need to find a hard-to-locate part. Brian and I also do that in addition to putting out an occasional podcast, in case you were wondering. When we can take time away from the never-ending beaver hunt, that is.
Yeah, right.
Which brings us to the climactic moment of the episode, and possibly episode 186 as well, when we dangled the possibility that you too could win your choice of IronClad gloves. This all came a couple episodes ago when I pointed out I was having some issues with some of our long-toothed rodent friends here in semi-rural Northeast Ohio. They've been wreaking havoc on the trees along the creek way in the back of my lot, and well, one thing led to another. We launched a contest, as we're wont to do.
Occasionally.
Received some pretty good creative entries for this contest. And again, the idea was send us an email with the pair of IronClad gloves that you think would best suit your purposes for doing mortal combat with a beaver den full of our tree-loving rodent friends.
Very hungry ones.
Apparently. And the winner of this contest, before I'll announce the winner first, then I'll tell you about the runner-up. But it was Jamie Clark of Hodel Natco.
Good.
And he's got a great sense of humor, and he's also something of an outdoorsman. He's got a real nice spread out in northern Pennsylvania. It's like 90 acres of woodlands in this rolling Pennsylvania hill country. It's just gorgeous out there. He knows what he's talking about. Anyway, he said, IronClad Tactical Coyotes all the way. It's a toss-up between the Tactical Grip Coyote and the Tactical Impact Coyote. I want a minimum of a coyote on my side during a beaver onslaught. Hand to tail, or with small arms or knife, I would feel safe with either of these fine gloves versus the mighty beaver.
Okay.
And that one, Jamie Clark, his choice, I don't know, who knows, maybe George or Rosa will send him one of each, the tactical and the impact. Don't know. They're usually pretty good about things like that. But thank you for the entry, Jamie. And I expect that we're going to hear some experience that you have on your property with your gloves. I know you don't have any beavers out where you are, but you have, last I remember, you told me something about a flying squirrel infestation in the attic of the cabin. So,
God,
who knows? Now, runner-up for this contest actually did it a little bit. She drew outside the line, so to speak, but she persuaded us such that she is also winning her choice of IronClads. And I don't know, Bri, that we got her selection, so I'll have to call her. But the runner-up honors go to Itzela Vasquez of Stock D Supply.
Right.
Who I understand just went through an acquisition. I think that was actually pointed out on McNulty's report, but that's beside the point. Itzela called you, and you guys wound up on the phone for, I think, you told me over an hour, and she recounted her fondness for fully threaded radio and pointed out the fact that she'd gone back and listened to every episode.
Right. And it was very wide-ranging conversation. She's the Director of Supply Chain Management. I think that's a sort of correct title for stock supply. And she's sort of new in the industry, been in the industry for 2 or 3 years. She said that it was really hard to gain knowledge quickly, but she found a lot of that knowledge by listening to Fully Threaded and the people talking and Carm's, Fastener Training Minute, and said that she, in going around, the area around her, I guess, Stockley Supply is based in Tennessee. She has these long drives, and it was just easier to sit and listen to Fully Threaded while she was driving. Then she could learn at the same time. So when she said she had gone back and listened to every episode, I thought that was really got to be worth something. And Eric thought of the gloves. So congratulations to Itzela.
That's right. And thank you for being out there. We're so glad you found the podcast useful. It gets you your choice of gloves plus all the knowledge that you've picked up. And you've warmed our hearts as well. And that goes for all of you out there who have listened to the podcast over the years. We sure do appreciate it. And we hope that you will continue. Tell your friends and associates about this. That's really our best way of growing the show. And we'll try to do the best we can as we head out to Nashville. Lynn will be there with her microphone on the show floor as always. So the next thing you hear from us will be show floor interviews. People seem to love those.
Yeah, wall-to-wall interviews.
And don't forget, Bob Reynolds of InSequel and Dee Ward of Marine Fasteners will be on episode 188 of Fully Threaded Radio, or it might be 189 by that time. I don't know how we're going to work the numbering of all of it, but hope you'll join us then.
Yeah.
I don't think people care what the numbers are too much, Bri. I haven't heard any whining about that.
Right. I think so.
Thanks again, folks. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, get your cowboy boots out for Nashville, and we'll talk to you next time.
Right. We will see you in Nashville. No more whining, okay?
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.